Thank you, Jack. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming. Actually, I thought I wouldn't get here after some great press this week, but obviously many of you may well have seen the headlines in the Chester Chronicle and repeated in the Daily Mail yesterday. I actually thought that now supposedly wanting to allow ISIS to blow up one of our medical centres in Chester, I wouldn't be here because either MI5 or CIA would be preventing me from doing so. In fact, what I was told is that the reach of that story has gone as far as the Wisconsin Town News. So I finally broke America. Ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted and honoured to be speaking in front of yourselves at YI because I have seen over the last few years the growth of this group and the growth of the people, thanks to people like Jack and all of those. And I really want to say from the bottom of our hearts here as spokespeople that I know that I would not have been an MEP today without the hard work that I got from the team of Chester YI when they were campaigning excessively and sometimes way beyond the call of duty throughout the Chester area and Cheshire, where for the first time in political history, a party that was not the Labour Party or the Conservative Party topped the polls in West Cheshire. And for that I do want to thank those from YI here personally from the bottom of my heart. I also want to thank yourselves because without your enthusiasm, the energy, the ideas that you bring to this party, you're not rejuvenating the ideas. Many of us have been in it for a while. Some of us have grown in stature, one might say. And some might say after a period of time at the MEPs we might be growing a little bit more in different areas. But you bring an enthusiasm that we need in this party. And one of the aspects of that enthusiasm is the conversations I have with you by Twitter and Facebook and on the telephone. Because now that I've been appointed as a spokesperson for migration and a spokesperson for financial services to deal with the important industries we have, the conversations have grown. And you will see that your input has actually caused us to think about how we direct our policy and actually how we name ourselves. For too long in this country, we have talked about immigration as though it's a negative, as though it's part simply about colours. And there you see my little daughter joining in with that already. She knows that this is the number one important issue that is facing this country. And you'll have your turn later. I know at 5 o'clock this morning she was definitely having her turn as I was changing the nappy. This is one of the great duties of being a father, and I love every minute of it. But we have recognised that migration not only is the number one important issue to the people of this country, it's also the number one issue across the globe. But we wanted to make sure that people are no longer confused about what our policy is, what we really mean by this. And your input, your discussions have brought us into a thought process that we no longer talk about the word immigration. We are actually talking about migration. And that is much more important. So I am the migration spokesman, because it isn't just simply about the supply of people coming in to the UK, it's also about the demand of people wanting to be here and how we look after our own. It isn't only about us concerning ourselves about those in this country who are now seeing their wages depressed because of open door migration from the European Union, but it's our concern as human beings, as fellow citizens of the globe, to see the impact of those leaving those countries from Africa and those countries in Eastern Europe who are seeing the lack of doctors and medical care, who are seeing their scientists move out and come here and work in coffee shops. We're seeing the impact on how they are not growing anymore. And we have to ask ourselves and show that as a sensible party, with a heart, that we have to be ethical about our migration policy. Because what is good for us is also good for those countries abroad. And have no shame when you go out and speak to the public about what our policies are, because we have the most ethical immigration policy of all the political parties, and you should hold your head up high because of that very reason. And let's be absolutely clear, for those in the audience, and I do spot one or two who are not members of YI, It's we believe that every nation state should have the ability and power to control its own borders. And the reason we want to control our own borders is because we recognise you have a responsibility as politicians and policymakers to make sure that people have jobs that are worthwhile with wages that match that job. That you have sensible NHS policies and hospitals and doctors available so that everybody who needs it is treated. That you have schools able to teach the young and universities capable of taking those on who want to fulfil their dreams. That you have policies that enable those who don't want to go to university to be able to go to technical colleges. That you look after the elderly in this country with the warmth and respect that they deserve after years of working in this country. And the only way you can do that is through the firm knowledge that you know how many people are here, how much money that you have through the tax services, how you are able to distribute that through all the different government departments. And you cannot do that if you don't know how many people are coming in and how many people are coming out. You don't know that if you no longer have control of your own borders because the European Union is telling you how to do it. And you don't know that if you're able to say how much we want to give to aid to assist countries to promote their own economies if you don't know how many are leaving those countries to come here. We are ethical because we believe everybody in the world is entitled to come to this country, but everybody in the world should be treated equally on a points-based system similar to that of Australia. And again, I ask you to think about who your friends and colleagues are. Take a look in this room. It is well known that I am mixed race, but on here we have spokesmen and people who have acted for us in different cultures and creeds. Amjad Bashir, who is our Yorkshire MEP, has also spoken at many conferences about his history and belief of being part of this party and part of this country. And indeed, when I helped organise, with the help of many people, I see them in the audience today, who helped me organise an amazing event in London, where we put over 100 black, mixed and ethnic candidates of UKIP on our stage. And let me make absolutely clear, when we talk about BME, we don't talk in the narrow terms that the Labour Party and the Conservative Party. We had our Polish representatives in there. We had our Greek representatives in there. We had our Anglo-Italian UKIP association in there. When we talk about BME, we talk about people of different ethnicities, cultures, creeds, who believe in UKIP and independence of the United Kingdom from the European Union control, and we are open to everybody, not the narrow groups that they put in control in their own political parties. That's what makes us different, and that's what makes us distinct. Notice is because we have the most ethical immigration policy of all the political parties, you're seeing the growth of those people representing UKIP in our elections. You see many more of them wanting to stand at town and local councils. You see many more of them wanting to put their names on the NEC, and you'll see that in the next elections coming forward. Because when they look at our policy, they recognise that we are saying that if you are an Indian doctor, we will treat you exactly the same as a German doctor. And that is the most important part that we can hold dear to ourselves. Because when you've heard me speak before, you've heard me talk about the philosophical background of what UKIP is about. We've always talked about democracy. We've always talked about the importance of our parliamentary structure, of habeas corpus. And why was that important? Because people died in our history to achieve that. When we look back at the Tolkien martyrs, when we look back at the levellers, when we look back at the diggers and the chartists and the women and suffragettes who fought for the right for women to have the vote, you, in this room, are part of that ancestry. You are the defenders of that same moral and liberal democracy that we have created over hundreds of years in this country. You are part of the future that says, we know that is vital and people have laid down their lives in order that we can have that vote. But you are also today part of a moral uprising in this country that says we should increase fairness within the policies and our own way of lives. When we talk about ethical immigration, that is what we're talking about. Fairness. when we're talking about people having the opportunities to go to school and university on their terms and not have political correctness hold them back. That is the fairness that I'm asking you to be part of the future and be part of UKIP. Because you and I are in a cause here that says we no longer want elites dictating how we live our lives, but it should be the human being and the human spirit that carries us forward. I'm asking you today to grow the numbers beyond where you are. I'm asking you to get further involved in the elections coming up in May next year. I'm asking you to ensure that this front bench get elected as parliamentarians, because not only are you carrying forward the title and the history of democracy, and you're taking forward the view that we should be ethical and fair, but you are ensuring that this country has a different voice, a different vision, and a different belief of where we go in the future. And I'm looking here today and I know that that future is secure, and I feel happy to be representing you and ensuring that we will win in the parliamentary elections next year and continue our earthquake in British politics. Thank you very much.